Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. You probably have seen AI agents taking all over the timeline. Tons of people are dropping all of these agents for you to buy. There's so much garbage on the timeline and so many grifters out there in full force, just like they were in the meme coin space. So how do you make it? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 different options and the strategy that I potentially think that you should employ. So if you like that kind of content, make sure you hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And also follow me on all socials linked in the description below. The crypto market has started to pull itself out of that slump that we saw near the end of the year. However, there is so many things that have slightly changed. And the biggest change so far has been this massive change toward the adoption of these AI agents. Many of us got into AI agents in October or November. Platforms like Virtual or AI16Z were sort of making a bit of noise, but it has gone full force in the last 2 weeks of December and the first week of January. To put it in perspective, you can see on the screen AI agents that are basically worth about $15 billion right now. Meme coins are worth almost 10x that. And AI agents has got a lot more excitement and a lot more actual potential because it lines up with the normie thesis, which is everybody's learning about Chat GPT and all of that. And if you're wondering, am I too late? Well, we always want to make sure that there are prospective buyers. And one such example is Raoul Pal. Raoul Pal does not stand alone, but basically he believes that the current AI agents theme is mid-curve, which means this is not the profitable way to go about it. In fact, he believes it's a temporary gamble. Now, people who believe this, they want to sort of put their head in the sand, pretend there's not a lot of money to be made here, and that is completely wrong. And while if you were an early adopter of virtuals or AI16Z, like if you were in the Web3 Secret Society, you should have been printing on this already. Or if you've sort of, just been kind of had your ears attuned for the last couple weeks, because it has been pretty much straight up only. Now, with that being said, we've got our examples of prospective buyers, right? We always want to make sure there are people out there to buy our bags when they keep going up. You don't want to be buying when everybody's already in, because then who's going to buy your bags? And I thought this was a very good take on AI coins. OSF basically faded it all until the last few days. Basically, he thought it was a LARP. Basically, when you first hear about it, you're like, well, it's just like the meme coin pump fund trenches. So he didn't spend a lot of time looking into it, found it annoying, thought it was something that would be short-term, a short-term meta and fade. Then on the 1st of January, just 3 days ago, saw a ton of accounts talking about it, talking about how it's a main cycle narrative. One of his friends basically got under him and said, you've got to get involved. And the reality was the same friend told him the same thing about NFTs in 2021, and he was late to the game there. So now that the AI agent market cap is 15 billion, really made it a reality in his mind that this was real. And there's a very easy potential for this to 10x with the current mind shares. And that's, the fact of the matter is, because it hasn't died yet, well, it's become too big to fail and ignore. And the reality here is this sort of narrative was all driven for the bull cycle in meme coins last year, while the VCs and the mid-curvers struggled. And basically, a large part of the DeFi crowd never got into meme coins because they thought it was stupid, but this is something they think is smart. Now, will this be completely game-changing? Of course not. What we should recognize is this AI agent is a prototype. These are very early stages, but because there are so many people sidelined, there is so much potential, right? They say it's lindified enough that enough people will buy in if it keeps going higher, and the ceiling is so much higher if you compare it to alts. So basically, AI and meme coins will both do very well this cycle. This will be a great precursor to the AI run. Now, this is a snapshot that was shared a couple weeks ago. I would love to open the cookie.fund website, which shows you there's so many AI agents out there, so much mind share being split among virtuals, among AI 16Z, and then the other platforms that are coming for the mind share. So how exactly do you invest? Because the reality is AI agents will pop up all the time. You're going to see a ton of grifters, ton of callers on Twitter asking you to buy the AI agent they bought into, so it pumps, then they sell out, and then they dump on you. So you want to avoid the exact same fallacy that we saw in the meme coin trenches, right? All these LARPers pretending to be geniuses and callers, but the reality is they're using their audience as exit liquidity. So what do you do knowing this? Well, luckily for us, and by the way, I think Edgy, I got this right now, deserves a follow. Edgy wrote a fantastic thread about the AI agent supercycle. I will link it below, but I'm going to go through some of the highlights with you here. So basically, we already know that, typically in the past, when we have an alt season, everything goes up. That argument of a rising tide lifts all boats is always used. The problem is, there's just so many tokens now, and we just don't have the money or the liquidity to pump them all. So only some sectors will get a full-blown altcoin season, and that season starts off right now with the AI agents. And in fact, while the market was bleeding in the end of December, the AI sector was outperforming, crushing. That's why a lot of us who were in this had no idea what was going on. In fact, when we just take a look at the current AI trend, the green right here is where we are. Compare that to DeFi of 2020, 2021. So much potential. Don't let anyone think you're sidelined. So it's not too late to enter, because we see the AI agent and infrastructure tokens continue to go up. One thing I do want to mention, remember, nothing I say is financial advice, but when you have a period of it going up a lot, I called this out in my previous AI agent video when I walked through some how-tos. There will be a pullback. We started to see it, but that's a short-term problem, not a long-term one. And I continue to add to my bags on dips. I'm going to explain to you what those bags look like in a second. Now, this meta is a little over 2 months old, and these agents are the worst they're ever going to be. Right? New utilities come out all the time. Imagine what's going to be available when they can optimize your portfolio, trade on chain for you. I've even heard of an agent called it's called DraftKings, and basically it's for DraftKings, right? Which is sports betting. Imagine an AI agent that can in real time place bets for you, figure out where the arbitrage opportunities are, work with a bunch of different sports books, and defeat retail investors or retail sports brokers. Because the reality is, when something changes in a game, they can go right away and make that bet faster than a human can. So this is where some of the AI agent potential can be. This is an example of it. Now, none of the top protocols have centralized exchange listings yet either. So this adds friction, which means it's even harder to get on board. Imagine how much more this will get adopted once those get listed. We see this with meme coins all the time. Look back to Pepe, which on the Coinbase listing it doubled. So the number one thing, and I completely agree with him here, the AI infrastructure play is the best risk to reward. And the reason for that is it will act like an index, or in this case, act like the whole casino. So instead of picking an individual agent and you can basically pick the protocol out of the infrastructure, and when that succeeds, when those agents succeed, that protocol or the infrastructure will succeed. And it's sort of akin to the gold rush, right? We always talk about it, but the people who were rich in the gold rush weren't the ones digging. It was the ones who were selling the picks and the shovels. So there were really two key players in the AI infrastructure. The first is Virtuals. Virtuals is on the base ecosystem. It launched back in October, and it's basically positioned itself as the go-to for AI agents. Now, It's currently on base. It can expand in the future. They've definitely talked about a potential launch on Sol or potentially Hyperliquid, potentially Abstract when it launches later this month. Now, there's a lot of information here I don't think you need to know, but the biggest strengths behind virtuals is number one, the tokenomics. You need the virtual token to create agents, and you need the virtual token for liquidity pairing of all the tokens. So especially when you're doing the bonding curve. There's also a network effect, which is all the eyes are on virtual now. So to launch an agent, if you do it on virtual, you got all the tailwinds of virtual and base. And the current biggest agent, AIXBT, which you probably see on Twitter, the one that's crossed 500 million market cap. I think it's a little lower than that right now. Potentially it's like in that range. It's from virtual. So basically the potential here is virtuals can enter the top 10 market cap this cycle. So that's currently like Tron is sitting there at 23 billion. And if I think virtuals down here at maybe, yeah, it's right here, 4 billion. So definitely massive potential, at least a 6x, and likely even more depending on how well they're able to hold their share. So then the second one is one that we identified in the Web3 Secret Society at 60 million market cap. And this is the DAO AI16Z. It had a huge roller coaster. I got in at 60 million. It dumped to 30 to 40. And I was like, oh man, maybe I made the wrong call. And because of the fundamental rule, you never sell your dust, or you just hold on at some point if you believe. I'm glad it recovered, and I've been taking profits ever since. Now, they had some complaints about their tokenomics and how they weren't captured value. Well, apparently they're going to do an overhaul, which is going to be set for Q1. And projects launching on the ELISA framework will pay launch fees, which is a percentage goes back to AI16Z. It will also require AI16Z holdings for access and liquidity pairings, something we also see with a lot of agents. And then once again, you pair tokens with AI16Z in liquidity pools to stabilize markets. Once again, you want to own the casino where every new agent pays to play. So tons of tailwinds. And the reality is that you can make arguments for whether virtuals or AI16Z is better. Right now, virtuals got more mindshare, more dominance. They think far ahead. They've got all the momentum of base. And the positives for AI16Z is the tech is better with ELISA OS, or the operating system. So the reality is you can get both. You don't have to pick sides. You can simply own both, which is what I've done. And the reality is you want to own the winners. You want to own the leaders. As people come into the market, they're not going to want to gamble as much as they are just going to want to put their money behind the big leaders of the ecosystems. That is very clearly and without a doubt AI16Z and virtuals. Now, there are some contenders. There's one called Cerebro. It's a generic AI agent that made music, but now it's becoming a full stack framework. It's open sourced on Python. And basically, they have a platform coming out in early 2025, and that platform will sort of have value directly back to the token. This is a beta play. So if you wanted to get some additional exposure in AI, you could sort of have that portfolio and include Cerebro. There are other ones as well that I'm not going to go into. I just don't like, we can go through them. You can go through them after if you'd like to read the thread. There's Arc, which is sort of built using the Rust language. There's Griffin, sort of the AI app store of Sol. You have Ray, the smarter take on AI agents. And then you also have Vapor, which is on Hyperliquid, which if you're in the Hyperliquid spot ecosystem, it's a sort of goodbye, in my opinion, not financial advice. And there's also Mode, and there's so many others. The two that I do want to mention, because they tie back to virtuals, is Game, which is on the virtuals framework. It was the first infrastructure project that allowed developers to integrate AI agents into games. Now, developed by Virtual, so it's got a lot of tailwinds. It's a very good beta. It's empowering more than 200 projects, and it's very undervalued because it's not shilled, and most people don't know what it does. Now, the reason I like Game a lot is if you buy Virtual, which is already sitting at a 4 billion market cap, when you look at Game, which is sitting at 1/10 of that, you have a lot more gain potential Obviously higher risk, but the beta is right there and it's got a very good link. If you want even more high risk beta, you have Convo, which is talked about. I guess it's not talked about here, but it's another infrastructure play that powers the conversation on virtuals. Okay. There's also Graph, which is a small market cap that, once again, you can decide if you want to get into it or not, right? Take a look, read all of these, understand this is not like meme coins. Remember, there's actual utility. So go through this thread, go in here and read every single thing and understand, okay, great. Now you know the concepts. What do you want to bet on? Save your money. Your liquidity is so important. I know many of you reach out to me telling me you got $1,000, $2,000. You don't have $500 to throw on an agent and play the lottery game, right? If you're doing that, I recommend at least at a minimum, you pick one of the higher agents like AIXBT or Vader, right? But like I said, not financial advice. You guys got to do what you got to do. Now, ICO Beast says this: many of you will chop your virtual stack to near zero trying to find that next big agent. Problem is, just like the meme coin trenches, 99+% is trash. So what's happening is you're just going to end up being exit liquidity for a bunch of those trench chats who are trying to sort of get people to buy into their agent so they can completely dump. Now, you don't have to do that. You can literally do what I said, which is sort of invest in the infrastructure play. Now, what I do want to show you before we go into some of the investment options is, number one, you go to the virtuals ecosystem. You can see here there's tons of options. Like I said, I'm invested in Game. I'm invested in Convo. I'm invested in AIXBT. I also have a few others. I'm not going to go into them here. We talk about that in our Discord. But basically, the easiest way for you to get on anything is always go to Gecko Terminal. I really love this website because you literally click here, you click trade, and you can click on any of these options to actually do your swap. So if you don't have funds, by the way, like let's say you're watching this video and you are a meme coin warrior on Sol, and you're like, how do I get my money over? Well, use Jumper Exchange. And what you do is you select your chain of choice. We'll pick Sol. And I'll pick USDC, for example. I'll then pick base, and I will pick USDC. Why does it look weird? Okay, here we go. And then basically you can transfer however much you want. Fees aren't bad. It's like, 33 cents, whatever you want to do. You connect your wallets, you do whatever you need to do. Then you get your funds over there. You may have to bridge some Ethereum over as well, but Jumper Exchange is fantastic for this. And then you can go in here and you can make the trade, or you can go to the virtual platform and actually buy like the agents you want or the infrastructure. So the game infrastructure, you can buy it here. All you got to do is click on search, go game, or you can go back to this page, which will show you all the sentient agents. The sentient agents, by the way, are lower risk than Prototype, which is high risk. This is like the early stage launches. I also like Convo, like I said, so prefrontal cortex. What you will see here, though, is look at the chart for Convo. The Convo chart is a lot weaker, right? It's down over 50% from the high, whereas I look at Game, and Game is down maybe 25, about 25 to 30%, but it's held very strong on this support, whereas Convo really hasn't. It's sort of held back in December. So those are some things to look at. Like I said, you want to think about what the risk you're willing to take in all this is. Then there's AI16Z, which, you probably recognize this image. You see it everywhere. Basically, you can go to DAO's fund and you can see how it's been doing. Like I said, we got into this at 60 million market cap in the Web3 Secret Society. And very interestingly, just a couple days ago, AI16Z flipped Pengu and breaks the 2.6 billion market cap, is the #1 Sol token, right? I thought it was funny they put the pudgy penguin with the that outfit. But once again, you can go on Gecko Terminal. Like I said, I'll put links to everything. You can go to trade. And here I like using Jupiter. The reason I like using Jupiter is you can earn the Jupe airdrop for Jupiary 2026, which is about a year away. But yeah, you just go in here. You can do your swap. You can do your trade, whatever you need to do. Or you can go once again, type in Cerebro, whatever token you'd like to get. And you can always find out what you can trade to get it. So love that. And then, like I said, We're not talking about agents. If you want to get into the AI agent trenches, you want to get my notifications on what I'm buying and whatever, all that stuff is in the Web3 Secret Society. Links below. A lot of people will give you these following criticisms of the AI agent sector, which is, oh my God, man, there's way too many launch pads. There's way too many frameworks. Great. Do you see how many L1s there are or L2s? Doesn't matter. We're doing fine. They're new, moving fast, and you've got to basically build the infrastructure. You got to build the roads, the bridges, and the pipes. Now, the other argument, which I agree with, is most of this is garbage and will go to zero. Yeah, no doubt, we're in crypto. Most will, but the things that survive change the game, and that's why you want to make sure you're piling money into the winners. You don't, I know many of you who are watching this who will tell me, hey, I only got $1,000. You don't want to waste your precious capital. Even if you have $1 million, you don't want to waste your precious capital on trash. You'd rather be more safe than sorry. Invest in the picks and the shovels. Don't invest in the random roulette wheel. You don't want to do that unless it's already won. Like, if you're looking at AIXBT, that's a very different story, or Vader, very different story. Still risky, but not as risky as random agents that will pop in the timeline. There's so many people out there who are trying to use these new AI agents to call themselves the AI agent messiah or the picker or whatever it may be. And the reality is all they're doing is when the first week, when all this stuff was going straight up, they got their plays right because everyone did. Only an idiot would lose in that. I don't know how you'd lose. And now what they're doing is, now that not everything is going up, they're basically using their followers as exit liquidity. Just watch. You can literally see what they call out. It does pump because people follow them into it, but then they sell on their followers. It's a tale as old as time. The AI sector has topped. Honestly, guys, the worst thing that could happen to anyone here is being sidelined. Like, even if you got money, being sidelined is the worst feeling. And if you think the AI sector is top, you're honestly not going to make it. And finally, if you think all the AI agents suck, yeah, well, there was a time when what you're so used to today was not normal, right? Like using Uber, ordering things online. A lot of people didn't like that. I remember my parents didn't like the iPhone, right? You wanted your handheld, you wanted your rotary phone. The reality is we're investing in the future, and some of this stuff is going to stick. You want to be part of that. There's a lot of money to be made. Remember, you get paid for being early. The people who make the most money in crypto are the ones who have the conviction to buy in early into something they truly believe into and hold on for dear life as their thesis plays out. Okay? So with that being said, that brings us to the final page, which is the AI portfolio ideas from Edgy. Again, these last two slides are from Edgy. I want to make it very clear. I want to always give credit where credit's due. So they've got the chill portfolio, which is, hey, just go 50% in virtuals, 50% in AI16Z. This is what I'd recommend for the most of you who don't have the risk tolerance. The reality is this is going to outperform most people. People who are buying agents and handpicking, use this portfolio. You're going to be great. The second portfolio, and the one that I'm doing, this is what I use, the alpha beta, which is I use virtuals as the alpha, and I also use AI16. So I got most of my money in virtuals in AI16 across multiple wallets, and then I will go and buy some other infrastructure. So I have Graphane, I have Convo, and I have Game, and I have Cerebro, right? Are those the only ones that can do well? No, but those are the ones I'm betting on based on what the need is. There's also other options like the barbell, which is you got your virtuals and your AI16Z as your safe bets. Basically, they protect your portfolio in case everything else goes to zero. And then you can randomly pick various AI agents, but that is a losing game for the most part. And then a little of everything. I don't like this one because basically you dilute yourself too much. You're better off trying to understand, learn, and think about what you like. One of the things I do on top of my alpha beta play is I do have specific agents like AIXBT, like Vader, like Vapor. Well, Vapor is more of a launch pad on Hyperliquid. But when they do well, I sell and rotate their profits into virtuals and AI16Z. I want to keep building up that stack. There's also other platforms that are coming out. We know there's a bid, Creator Bids, TGE's coming out. There's also ZK Sync. I actually recently exited ZK Sync and their AI portfolio framework only because it's way too diluted. There's not enough money on there. Even with ZK Sync Ignite, I don't think it's going to go that well. But hey, I'm always open to having my mind change, and if it does, I'll get back into that. So I really hope that you paid attention to this video. I recommend you watch it again, watch it on slow or whatever, take notes. This is the most important video you're going to watch in the next 2 months, because if you follow this strategy, you will be printing, you'll be cooking. And I want you guys to post in the comments below, come back here later and let me know how it went. And by the way, guys, now is the time. You have all the time in the world when we're in the bear market to sleep in, to not do anything, to go partying, drinking, doing whatever you please. But right now you got to lock in because there's money to be made. So if you like the content, come back here again, hit the subscribe button, like the video and share the video so YouTube knows to let you know when I go live or when I have more content. Follow me on all socials. And until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks.